Miyuki Inarizaka has been engaged since childhood. Her classmates frequently ask her out to karaoke, movies, or a cafe. With a graceful smile, she always declines their offers, thanking them but stating she already has plans, leaving them in awe of her beauty. She is known for her beautiful figure, face, and her talent. Miyuki comes from a respectable and trusted family in Kyoto. Meanwhile, she finds Sorata and apologizes for making him wait. Sorata, who sees himself as just an ordinary person, greets Miyuki cheerfully. When he asks if she wants to go somewhere, she tells him she has homework to do. He admires her responsible nature, but has complicated thoughts about their relationship. Miyuki's expression changes as she smirks at Sorata, teasingly asking if he's good at flattery. Her comment leaves him shocked, and he concludes their relationship is not good. In a flashback, Sorata is told that Miyuki Inarizaka will be his fiancée from now on. A young Miyuki smiles and formally introduces herself. The young Sorata is too shy and flustered to respond properly. Their grandfathers had been best friends and decided to arrange their engagement. Since their families only met once a year, they didn't see each other often. Sorata was shocked to discover she had enrolled in the same Tokyo high school as him during the entrance ceremony. Sorata asks Miyuki if she's used to life in Tokyo yet. She admits that she still can't shake her Kyoto dialect. She explains that it's natural since few people use it here. Even teachers sometimes misunderstand her choice of words. She worries that her dialect slips out if she isn't careful. Miyuki is impressed that Sorata understands her Kyoto dialect, and he shyly admits that he learned it for her. He confesses that he tried hard to get to know her better, which makes her glad. However, their pleasant moment is interrupted when a passerby bumps hard into Miyuki. The man apologizes before rushing off, as Sorata asks if she is okay. Miyuki points out that his eyes were bulging out, and he apologizes, admitting he thought he dodged but it was weird. Sorata asks if she's hurt, but she says no. He thinks to himself that the hardest thing about her is her personality. The most frustrating thing for Sorata is that her words and her heart don't match. What makes it more complicated is that she isn't always teasing and can be genuinely kind, leaving him confused. Because of this inconsistency, he struggles. He feels that he can never really understand her true feelings towards him. As he waves goodbye, telling her he'll see her later, Miyuki suddenly calls out to Sorata, stopping him. With a slight smile, Miyuki asks if he would mind joining her. She asks if he could accompany her on a sightseeing tour of Tokyo tomorrow. Sorata is shocked by the sudden invitation. He realizes this is the same as a date and enthusiastically accepts. Later that night, he's still ecstatic in his bed. As they begin their sightseeing, Sorata asks if Akihabara is really okay. He suggests other places like Asakusa Temple or Skytree, but she says she's bored of temples and towers. Miyuki tells him that besides, there's a particular place she wants to visit, leaving him curious. A maid at the cafe makes a heart shape with her hands and chants, "Moe Moe." To his surprise, Miyuki happily joins in, making her own heart shape. Sorata, meanwhile, is completely mortified by the situation. The whole experience is so embarrassing for Sorata. He thinks that doing this pose in front of the person he likes is making his stomach flutter, and he asks to take a photo. They end up getting a commemorative photo with the maid. He comments on how unusual it is for their first sightseeing spot to be a maid cafe. Miyuki compares maids in Tokyo to geisha in Kyoto, wondering if they are similar. She then points out to Sorata that this is their first photo together. He argues that it's not a photo of just them because of the maid, but she just agrees that it's true. Leaning in close, Miyuki whispers a suggestion to take a photo of just the two of them next time. She watches him with a knowing, teasing smile. Sorata becomes flustered, thinking she's doing this just because she knows it embarrasses him. Sorata points out that she's using her dialect, and she agrees. Miyuki says with a smile that a date like this feels new. He smiles back at her, feeling a sense of warmth. He reflects that whether she likes him or not, he thinks she at least doesn't hate him. Her teasing voice echoes in his mind, but he takes it in stride. He thinks it would be easier to take her words at face value, but he knows that's not right. Because he truly wants to know Miyuki's real feelings, he turns to her and asks where she wants to go next. They arrive at a wall of gacha machines. Miyuki shouts in frustration, having failed to get the prize she wants. Sorata is taken aback by her enthusiasm, noting she's experienced 40 straight losses trying to get a rare secret item. He suggests buying it online, but she insists it has to be one from the gacha machine. She walks off, saying she'll try something else to reset her luck, leaving Sorata confused. Watching her, he decides he wants to give it a try as well. He gets a 500 yen coin to try the machine. However, a reminder of his finances makes him reconsider. He decides against it and turns to look for Miyuki. He realizes she's gone and looks around for her, calling her name. He finally spots her, but she's not alone. A group of guys have cornered Miyuki, asking if she's alone. They notice the gacha capsules she's holding and ask what they are. Miyuki looks annoyed as they get closer. One of them then asks her about having a fiancé at the same school, which catches Sorata's attention. One of the guys observes that only the guy wears the ring on his ring finger. They call the situation pitiful and suggest she try going out with one of their friends, a supposed perfect match. Sorata reflects on this, realizing that for some time now, only he has been wearing the ring. He kept this realization to himself. He had been pretending not to notice. He remembers seeing her bare hand during their childhood meetings. The guys suggest going to a cafe, inviting her to come with them if she's free. Miyuki tries to politely refuse their offer. Ignoring her refusal, one of them grabs her arm and cheers that she's coming, shocking Sorata. The man is surprised as his hand is suddenly grabbed. It's Sorata who has stepped in and tells the man to please stop. The man easily shoves Sorata to the ground, calling him too weak. The others wonder what's wrong with him, calling him scary as he tries to help Miyuki up. Their friend's words about the pitiful guy, who's the only one wearing the ring, echo in his mind. Sorata clenches his fist, thinking that if that's the case. But before he can do anything, Miyuki takes action, grabbing the man's arm and twisting it, causing him to yell in pain. With a menacing smile, Miyuki comments on how light the man is, asking if he's eating well. The other guys are shocked by what they're seeing. She tells them they should have just said they didn't want to go earlier, and they run away. Sorata is stunned to learn she has 10 years of experience in Aikido and Kendo. Sorata laughs, thinking about how amazing Miyuki is. He realizes she didn't need his help, while she feels embarrassed. She turns to him with a worried expression, extending her hand and asking if he's hurt. The thought that she didn't need his help echoes in his mind. He starts to say he's fine, but then he reaches out. He firmly grabs her hand. She looks at him in surprise as he calls her name. Kneeling before her, Sorata holds Miyuki's hand and confesses that he likes her. Miyuki is stunned, wondering what she just heard. Sorata, blushing, knows he has to continue. He feels like he'll regret it if he doesn't say what he needs to say right now. He confesses that he really likes everything about her, her kindness, her strong personality, her enthusiasm, and her dialect. He admits that he likes her so much he feels unworthy. He lists his own shortcomings, saying he has nothing to be proud of with average grades and no money. He opens the gacha capsule, revealing the secret prize inside. Miyuki recognizes it as the item she was trying so hard to get. Holding her hands, Sorata tells her that he wants to make her the happiest person in the world. He passionately declares that in that goal, he won't lose to anyone. He tells her that his feelings are the one thing he is proud of, and he wants to be by her side. He promises to work hard so that Miyuki will acknowledge him, as she listens silently. Overwhelmed and blushing, Miyuki quietly responds with a simple thank you. Sorata is stunned into silence by her reply. He interprets her response as a rejection. From his perspective, he was just rejected in a confusing way. Later, Sorata reflects on what happened, thinking it's obvious. He believes there's no way she would like him after he did something so embarrassing. However, he still thinks there might be a chance. He remembers her saying she was glad she came to Tokyo. He also remembers her asking where they should go on their next date. He decides he wants to believe that she doesn't hate him. In her room, Miyuki holds her ring and worries about what would happen if Sorata misunderstood. She tosses and turns, revealing that the ring simply doesn't fit her finger anymore. She kept quiet about it because she didn't want to be thought of as fat. She frets about the possibility of him getting fed up with her, calling their situation a story about two people who love each other. Despite often experiencing misunderstandings, their story continues. Sorata recalls being rejected just the other day. Miyuki smiles and invites Sorata to a study session. Worried, Sorata suggests that she might not enjoy it. Miyuki is left completely blank by his strange response. Sorata begins to suspect there has been a misunderstanding. Miyuki asks what he meant the other day when she interpreted his thanks as a dismissal. Miyuki challenges Sorata to figure out her meaning on his own. Sorata is taken aback by her response. She turns away, a slight blush on her cheeks. Depressed on his couch, Sorata believes he has made her angry. He regrets asking her about it so directly. He rolls over, confused because he didn't think she hated him. He concludes her invitation wasn't meant in a good way, haunted by the memory of his confession. Sorata recalls confessing his love to someone, only to be rejected. The girl in his memory had called him a nuisance. Her words telling him he wasn't good enough have left deep emotional scars. He suddenly recalls the condition of his past rejection, to become a man worthy of her. That's it, he thinks. Filled with new resolve, he decides he must get to know Miyuki better and rushes off for their study session. At a family restaurant, Miyuki fidgets nervously and asks if she can push the call button. Seeing how she slowly presses the button, he asks if this is her first time in a family restaurant. She admits that it's a bit embarrassing, but she doesn't really eat out. She then reveals it's because she has no friends, and Sorata realizes he's touched on a sensitive topic. A waiter comes to take their order. Sorata orders 2 drink bars for them. He then jokingly asks Miyuki if it's true that you can order a smile, and she thoughtfully says maybe not at this place. Sorata tells Miyuki he'll watch their things so she can go get the drinks. He watches her, thinking how refined it is that she chose green tea. He is astonished by how thorough she is, carefully checking the temperature and stirring. Sorata is impressed, noting he's never seen someone brew tea so carefully before. Miyuki tells him the tea is for him. She giggles, confident that the tea is delicious. He takes a sip and a sudden thought strikes him. He remembers a piece of Kyoto etiquette: being served tea is a sign that it's time to go home. He panics internally, thinking she wants him to leave already. She asks about his plans for later, mentioning she has lessons at night. Sorata tries to calm himself down, taking her words as a good sign. He remembers that the real signal is when the second cup arrives. Feeling relieved, Sorata tells her not to hesitate if she feels like going home. Miyuki is confused by his strange comment, wondering if he's asking her to read his mind. Sorata tries to refocus on their study session. Miyuki calmly sits down right next to him. He asks why she's sitting so close, and she asks if it's inconvenient. He worries she's testing him again, but she explains it's a small space. She tells him she's old enough not to be shy about it. He asks if she's reading a foreign book, and she explains it's for a book review. He looks closer and sees that her book is filled with English text. Sorata feels embarrassed, thinking her studies are on a whole different level than his. Miyuki teases him about how embarrassed he looks. She then reveals that it's the original work of a movie he once recommended to her. Sorata is surprised and excited that she saw the movie. Miyuki proudly explains she's seen the sequels, drama versions, and even documentaries about the author. She recommends them, and Sorata admits he hasn't even seen the sequel. Sorata takes out his phone and starts typing. He proudly shows his phone to a surprised Miyuki, announcing that he bought the same book. He proposes they have a review session together next time. He immediately worries that he was too into it, but Miyuki just giggles. She smiles, finding his reaction refreshing. Miyuki reminds Sorata that she doesn't have any friends. She clarifies that in elementary and middle school, everyone flattered her too much, making her the focus of every conversation. She remembers her old classmates talking about her achievements and deciding not to invite her to things. They felt she was in a different world, but at that moment she received a notification from Sorata. He had sent her a picture of flowers, a simple gesture that meant a lot. With a gentle smile, Miyuki thinks to herself that Sorata has always been truly different from the rest. He remembers seeing her room once, just after their engagement. It was a simple room with very few things, but in an open space, there was a box filled with countless trophies and awards. He thinks about her ability to do anything better than most people. He wonders what it is that Miyuki truly wants. Sorata is surprised by his own train of thought. He quickly tells her he's really happy about what she said. Miyuki smiles, saying she's thirsty after talking so much. She then asks if he'd like another cup of tea, shocking him. They leave the restaurant together. Sorata awkwardly says goodbye. He then quickly walks away, leaving her standing alone. Miyuki is left wondering why he left. She's completely confused, wondering if it was too early to end their meeting. She worries that she might have acted rudely. At home, Sorata reflects that the day was a close call but went smoothly overall. He's happy that he got to know a new side of Miyuki. He feels that the distance between them has shortened, even if just by a little. He acknowledges that the difference between his level and hers is obvious. He knows he's still far from being the ideal person to stand next to her, but he holds on to her words that he has always been different. He flops onto his bed, filled with determination to do his best. The next morning, Sorata yawns, having stayed up late binging the sequels. Someone taps him on the shoulder. A girl asks him if he knows where Miyuki's classroom is. An unfamiliar girl with blonde hair approaches Sorata, asking for directions to Miyuki's classroom. When Sorata questions her, the girl insists it is not important and urges him to hurry up, leaving him wondering what she could possibly want. Sorata brings the girl to Miyuki's classroom, deciding it is better to do so quickly. Miyuki spots Sorata and seems pleased. Her expression shifts upon seeing his companion. With a sharp smile, Miyuki remarks that he has brought a lovely companion and asks what she is doing there. She also notes that the bell has already rung. The girl enthusiastically introduces herself as Mary Hitsujino. She uses a very forced Kyoto dialect, which leaves both Miyuki and a shocked Sorata speechless. Mary is thrilled when Miyuki compliments her dialect, which she admits to studying online. Sorata internally worries that Miyuki is actually mad, despite her praise. Mary then cryptically mentions that this is not their first time meeting, asking if Miyuki remembers her, which confuses Sorata. Mary pulls out a photo from their time at a maid cafe. Sorata screams in shock as he remembers her. He confronts her about the photo, realizing she's the girl from that time. She retorts that his harshness towards her must be because she suggested a maid cafe for a date. Sorata senses Miyuki's anger and grows scared. Miyuki's expression darkens as she observes them, commenting that the two seem to be getting along well. Mary, however, misses the cue and proudly explains her heritage, stating that her father is Canadian. Mary explains that despite moving to Japan recently, she has always loved its culture. She passionately declares that Miyuki's mannerisms and conduct make her a true Yamato nei Chiko. Sorata tries to intervene, reminding them that class is about to start. Overwhelmed with admiration, Mary grabs Miyuki's hands and begs to be taught how to become a fine Kyoto woman. To Sorata's surprise, Miyuki agrees to Mary's request. As class begins, Sorata sits at his desk with a gloomy expression, feeling that a very strange person has just entered their lives. Mary complains that Miyuki was being really cold to her, leaving Sorata to wonder why she was angry. A classmate hands Sorata some papers he missed. Sorata worries that the progress he made with Miyuki yesterday will be wasted. He recalls Miyuki's kind words about him being different from the rest. He remembers how happy those words made him feel. Lost in thought, Sorata is startled when his classmate asks if there is a problem. The classmate smiles and says that is good to hear. Sorata is flustered, realizing it's the first time they have ever spoken and thinking his classmate is nice. Sorata reflects on how touching his classmate's kindness was after he had been treated so coldly. He gets his meal from the cafeteria. Meanwhile, Miyuki and Mary are already sitting together, chatting away. Mary compliments Miyuki's delicious-looking bento, which Miyuki says she made with her aunt. Mary eagerly asks for a bite. Miyuki obliges and Mary is delighted. As Mary enjoys the food, Sorata watches from afar, feeling that the scene is unfair. Sorata feels a pang of jealousy, thinking it is so unfair. He believes he should be the one closer to Miyuki, not Mary, who just met her. His thoughts are interrupted when a classmate points him out. Noticing him, Miyuki turns with a sly smile and offers Sorata a bite of her food as well. Sorata is taken aback by her offer and gulps nervously. Sorata boldly leans in and takes the bite directly from her chopsticks. Miyuki is startled by his forwardness. As he chews, he exclaims that her cooking is actually very good. Miyuki looks unimpressed by his reaction. Looking annoyed, Miyuki tells Sorata that he is being too much. Both Sorata and Mary are shocked by her sharp tone. Sorata worries that he has made her angry again, while Mary is impressed, believing it to be an authentic Kyoto dialect. Mary muses that while she initially thought they were childhood friends, she does not think Sorata is a good fit for Miyuki. She then turns to Miyuki and asks why she attends this school when she could have aimed for a better one. Miyuki explains that it was an order from her grandmother. She clarifies that her grandmother wanted her to spend more time with her fiancé. Hearing this, Mary bluntly tells her that is tough luck and to mind her own business. Mary speculates that Sorata's feelings might be unrequited, despite their engagement. She then pats him on the back, patronizingly wishing him the best of luck. As the bell rings, Mary stands up to leave. As Mary walks away, Sorata and Miyuki are left wondering what she wanted. Suddenly, Mary stops in her tracks. She rushes back, exclaiming that she almost forgot something important. She rummages through her belongings, looking for her phone. Mary quickly adds her contact information to Miyuki's phone and asks her to send a stamp later. She then declares that what she wanted most of all was to be Miyuki's friend. With a final wave, she runs off. Miyuki quietly says the word friend to herself. Sorata comments that Miyuki looked a bit sad when Mary left. Miyuki explains that people usually flatter her, which creates distance. She finds Mary's straightforwardness wonderful and can't believe someone can see her charm so easily. Miyuki clutches her phone, blushing as she happily exclaims that it's the first time she's exchanged numbers with a friend. Watching her, Sorata smiles and thinks that the people who keep their distance from her are truly missing out. Miyuki panics over which stamp to send in her message to Mary, asking Sorata for his opinion. As he helps her choose, Sorata smiles. However, as he looks at her phone, he inwardly feels a growing sense of loneliness. Sorata observes that Miyuki has made a new friend. He acknowledges that seeing her smile is a wholesome sight. However, he feels completely left out of their interaction. Sorata notices that Miyuki's voice sounds higher-pitched than usual, a sign of her happiness. Mary offers Miyuki some of her snack, which Sorata declines. She then playfully tells Sorata that she has no intention of sharing with him, who wonders why she's eating snacks on the way to school. Mary cheerfully insists that Miyuki call her by her first name, since they are now friends. A flustered Miyuki agrees that Mary can call her Miyuki-chan. Miyuki is internally thrilled that her new friend called her by her first name. Mary asks Sorata if this makes them all equal now. With a sudden burning passion, she warns Sorata not to be complacent in his engagement, telling him he will suffer for it later. Miyuki seems confused by Mary's warning about suffering. Mary explains that if he doesn't show his fiancée love, someone else might take her away. She urges him to say something, putting him on the spot in what feels like a hellish situation. Sorata is visibly stressed by the sudden pressure. He struggles to think of something to say. Sorata compliments Miyuki, telling her that her hairstyle looks cute. He confirms her hairstyle is the same as Mary's, who points it out enthusiastically. Miyuki seems a bit flustered by the compliment. Miyuki teasingly tells Sorata he is quite good at giving compliments, though he feels she's offended regardless. Mary awards Sorata 20 points for his compliment, though he insists he does not want her marks. Mary is impressed by Miyuki's proper Kyoto dialect and observes how happy she looks. Sorata silently reflects on Mary's earlier warning. Sorata worries that he has not been doing enough to show his affection. A male classmate with two-toned hair greets Miyuki and Sorata. Sorata recognizes the classmate Kishi as the person who sits in front of him. Kishi explains that a teacher asked him to give Miyuki some handouts. He says goodbye, telling them he will see them in the classroom. Miyuki suddenly grabs onto Sorata. Sorata, who finds Kishi scary, turns to ask Miyuki what's wrong. Sorata tells Miyuki she seems a little strange, but she denies that anything is wrong. He looks at her with concern. He senses that she is definitely different from her usual self. Sorata suddenly grabs Miyuki's hands, startling her. Miyuki looks up at him, puzzled. It is revealed that Miyuki has a fever. The scene takes place in the school's infirmary. Mary cries out an apology to Miyuki. Mary worries that she made Miyuki do too much without realizing she was sick. She cries dramatically, saying she doesn't want her to die, while Sorata tries to reassure her it's just a cold. Sorata asks Miyuki if she is okay, and she confirms it's just a slight fever. Miyuki informs him that her aunt is coming to pick her up. Sorata apologizes for not noticing her condition earlier. The school bell rings, and the others realize they need to get back to class. Mary promises to message Miyuki later and urges her to stay healthy. Miyuki says she will be heading to the staff room and tells them to make sure she gets some rest. As Sorata begins to leave with the others, he is stopped. Miyuki grabs his sleeve, surprising him. Sorata is taken aback by her action. He leans down and quietly asks her how she knew. Miyuki protests as he pulls her back. He thinks to himself that normally no one would notice she was sick. Miyuki reflects that those around her, including her family, wouldn't notice if she had a cold. Sorata asks if she was pretending to be fine to avoid worrying people. She remembers that it was always Sorata who noticed when she wasn't well. She seems to deny his suggestion. She believes people would worry if they knew she was sick. However, she feels that attracting attention in that way is wrong. She regrets saying anything. She wonders if it's because of her cold, as she's usually able to hide her feelings. She apologizes for bothering him and rambling, admitting she couldn't hold back her true feelings. Sorata asks if there is a problem with her way of thinking. He tells Miyuki that he thinks pretending to be fine when she feels unwell is a valid choice. He quickly reconsiders, thinking he shouldn't have said that. He continues, saying that if that's really how she is, then it's okay for her to stay that way. He offers a condition in exchange. He promises to pay close attention to her. This way, he says, he will notice it sooner next time, leaving Miyuki stunned. Sorata earnestly insists that when things are serious, she has to rely on others. Miyuki tries to stifle a laugh. She giggles at his serious expression. With a contented smile, she agrees that she understands. The doorbell rings, and Sorata realizes it must be her ride. He pauses at the curtain. He turns back and asks if he should cast a spell to help her heal faster. Miyuki agrees with a blush. She eagerly tells him to please do it. Sorata leans over Miyuki's bed, his form silhouetted against the light as he prepares to cast his spell. He gets very close to her face. Then he pulls away with a smile, waving goodbye and promising to contact her after school. Miyuki is left completely stunned and speechless. She watches him go, unable to form a word. Miyuki is completely taken by surprise, her face flushing red. His spell was a gentle tap on her forehead. He softly wishes her to get well soon. She realizes she was thinking of something indecent and feels rude. After that encounter, Miyuki's fever worsened for some reason. Sometime later, Sorata spots Miyuki on the street and calls out to her, asking if she has recovered from her cold. He leans in close to her, causing Miyuki to become flustered while another girl looks on in shock. Mortified by his forwardness, Miyuki covers her face and exclaims how shameless he is. Sorata is left completely baffled as Miyuki suddenly turns and runs away from him. A nearby friend of Miyuki's bluntly comments that his approach was awful. Later in their home economics elective, Sorata looks on in distress. He realizes that Miyuki is going out of her way to avoid him in the classroom. He recalls trying to talk to her only for her to run away, and realizes this has never happened before, not even after she had previously rejected him. A classmate Kamai asks Sorata what's wrong, pointing out that he seems distracted while measuring ingredients. Sorata sadly explains that the person he likes is avoiding him and won't even look at him. Kamai speculates that she must really hate his guts, which only makes Sorata feel worse. Meanwhile, another girl wonders what she should say in a similar situation, considering an apology. Sorata decides he must have done something wrong and wants to apologize. The girl with glasses wonders if giving a gift would be an effective apology. Her friend appears, enthusiastically offering to handle the marriage counseling, and the girl with glasses hesitantly agrees. She explains that it's a common situation for young couples and that she can't force them to make up. She then confidently declares that the situation calls for a bribe. She passionately explains that bribery can solve anything from improving grades to getting into the same class as a crush. She compares it to a classic trope from historical dramas. Her friend is strangely persuaded by her passionate, if odd, reasoning. She then triumphantly presents a small, perfectly shaped item for the plan. Sorata finishes preparing his gift of cookies, proud of his work. But just as he's ready, he sees Miyuki already leaving the classroom for lunch. Outside, Miyuki's friend is happily eating a matcha-flavored snack. Miyuki asks her friend why she used so little sugar in her treat. The friend explains that she doesn't handle sweet things well. Sorata overhears this and is shocked, mistakenly believing they are talking about Miyuki. Feeling dejected, Sorata returns to the classroom. He offers his cookies to Kishi, admitting that his attempt to give them away didn't work out. Kishi has to decline, however, as he's already received a large number of gifts due to his popularity. Sorata asks what Kishi is working on and offers his help. Kishi explains that he's putting together materials for the field trip that weekend. Kishi explains that he and Inarizaka were put in charge of all the preparations. However, she finished all the work in a single day, leaving him with little to do. Kishi seems hesitant to accept the cookies, but Sorata insists he try them. Sorata explains that the cookies are filled with his feelings, even though he couldn't give them to the person he intended. Kishi takes one, thoughtfully considering the feelings put into them. Kishi smiles and asks if feelings really have anything to do with the taste. He jokingly asks if Sorata was the type of child who didn't believe in Santa. Defeated, Sorata sits down, lamenting that he couldn't give the cookies to anyone and wonders if his mom would want them. Sorata reflects that he only just found out about Miyuki's supposed dislike of sweets. He feels that he still hasn't grasped her true feelings at all. He then receives a message from Miyuki, asking to meet at the park near the station. Miyuki arrives at the park where Sorata is waiting and apologizes for being late. The atmosphere between them is incredibly awkward. They both try to speak at the same time, deferring to one another. Miyuki apologizes and says she's been thinking a lot about the spell he cast. Sorata thinks to himself that he only did it out of habit from when they were kids and that Miyuki must not have liked it. Miyuki suddenly blurts out that he's gotten it all wrong, just as Sorata starts to promise he won't do it again. Flustered, she explains that she couldn't look at his face up close for personal reasons and that he should be the one to apologize. When he questions her about her personal reasons, she yells at him not to ask. She thanks him for his actions the other day, explaining that his consideration made her really happy. She offers him a small token of her appreciation. Instead of giving him the gift, she places her hand over his, much to his surprise. Miyuki leans close and tells him that she would rather get used to being close with him, little by little. Blushing, Sorata tells her that she's being mean. Miyuki simply smiles in response. Miyuki thanks him for the cookies. Sorata tells her he didn't know that she disliked sweet things. Miyuki corrects him, saying she actually loves sweet things, and asks if he is the one who dislikes them. Sorata is left completely bewildered by this revelation. Miyuki excitedly explains the elaborate process she went through to make the cookies, from buying special ingredients to altering the recipe. She proudly declares that she made them with all of her feelings. Sorata remembers Kishi's question about feelings and taste. Sorata takes a bite of her cookie and with a blissful expression exclaims that it's absolutely delicious. He thanks her sincerely and Miyuki beams with happiness. They exchange their homemade gifts, both noting that they were made with all their failings. As Sorata takes a cookie, he notices something else in the box. He discovers there is another item hidden among the treats. Sorata is surprised to find a cookie shaped like a koban, an old gold coin. Miyuki puffs out her chest proudly and declares that it's her form of feeling bribery. Holding the strange cookie, Sorata realizes he still can't quite grasp Miyuki's true feelings. Two of their classmates, Kishi and Miyuki, are leading the group and garnering a lot of attention for their stunning looks. After confirming everyone is present, Kishi warns the group to be careful of the muddy path. The other students are captivated by the popular pair, commenting on how handsome and beautiful they are. The students' admiration quickly turns to gossip as a rumor spreads that Kishi is Inarizaka's fiancée. They swoon over the idea, comparing the son of an actor and a young lady from Kyoto to a couple from a drama. However, one girl, Hitsujino, is visibly shocked and upset by the news. Hitsujino loudly proclaims that she is Maicha's fiancée, but her outburst is completely ignored by her classmates. Watching from the sidelines, Sorata wishes he could say the same, but knows no one would believe him. Sorata realizes he's part of an amazing group of people. As the group continues their hike, Kishi invites others to walk with him, and Hitsujino offers a snack to Miyuki, who politely refuses. Sorata watches the popular group from afar, feeling a constant distance between them. While climbing the mountain, the other students continue to admire Kishi and Miyuki's stunning appearances. A girl with Sorata remarks that she would feel completely out of place if not for him, as she's just an ordinary person among the son of an actor and a lady from Kyoto. Kishi overhears and quietly comments that such things aren't that amazing. Kishi explains that from their perspective, it can be uncomfortable when people are only amazed by their appearance without even knowing their names. Sorata is impressed by Kishi's kindness. His friend then asks Miyuki if she is annoyed by the attention. Miyuki simply replies that she doesn't mind. Miyuki adds with a smile that as long as Sorata understands, that's enough for her, causing him to choke on his drink. His classmates call it gross while Kishi glares at him. Observing the interaction, Kishi remarks to Miyuki that her focus on Sorata must be why she isn't wearing the ring. Miyuki gives him a sharp look in response. He simply smiles back at her. Miyuki approaches Kishi, confirming his full name is Kishi Takami. She says his name sounds familiar. Miyuki recalls a child actor with the same name from a drama 4 years ago. Pointing out a resemblance, she puts him on the spot. Kishi is visibly nervous. The other students are surprised to learn Kishi was a child actor. He dismisses it as unimportant, saying he quit long ago. Miyuki reveals she found many search results for his name online. She teasingly calls him the type to pay back favors 100-fold, noting it's a shame he quit. With a smirk, Miyuki apologizes if she made anyone uncomfortable. Kishi looks pained by her words, but Sorata steps in to break the tension, pointing out that they've almost reached the summit. They decide to wait for the teacher to catch up. At the summit, the students admire the view of Mount Fuji. Miyuki suddenly pulls Sorata aside, telling him they are going somewhere people can't see. Sorata is left bewildered by her actions. Once they are alone, Miyuki asks Sorata if he remembers the promise they made. Confused, he asks which one. She leans in close and suggests they take a photo, just the two of them. Sorata tells Miyuki she should have just said she wanted a picture with Mount Fuji in the background instead of being mean. As she fumbles with her phone's front camera, he shows her which button to press. Getting closer, she prepares to take the picture. The first photo they take comes out completely blurry. Sorata can't help but laugh. He apologizes and suggests another photo, finding it charming in its own way. Miyuki dryly recommends he activate the image stabilization this time. Sorata asks if he can get a little closer for the next picture, and Miyuki agrees. He cheerfully asks her to send him the blurry photo later too. Her flustered reaction triggers a memory for him. He remembers a time he asked her why she wanted to go to Tokyo. A man asks Miyuki why she doesn't just attend high school in Kyoto, mentioning her father's worries and the trouble of living with her aunt. Miyuki confesses that it's because she's never had the chance to do normal things like what ordinary couples do. The click of the camera shutter snaps Miyuki out of her memory. She looks at the phone screen, her eyes widening in surprise at the result. The new photo is perfectly clear, capturing both of them with bright smiles. When Sorata asks how it turned out, Miyuki, looking at her happy expression in the picture, claims it's no good and still blurry. Sorata suggests they can try again later. She turns away, muttering that there's no way she can show it to him. Miyuki is mortified that she made such a happy expression in the photo. Miyuki runs off just as the teachers are spotted nearby. Sorata worries he's made her angry again. Sorata confides in Kishi that the person he likes is avoiding him. Kishi then sits down and asks Sorata why he likes Inarizaka. Kishi presses, asking how it started. Sorata eventually admits that he thinks it was love at first sight. He recalls how his heart almost skipped a beat when he first met her, and how she's been cute since she was little. Kishi remarks that in the end, Sorata is just like everyone else. Disappointed, Sorata says he thought Kishi was different. He thought Kishi was someone genuinely kind and honest about what's good and bad. He suggests that for both of their sakes, it would be better for Kishi to call off his engagement with Inarizaka. Sorata's sudden question leaves Kishi to contemplate his answer. Kishi suggests that it might be better for Sorata to call off his engagement with Inarizaka. Sorata looks shocked as Kishi adds that it would be for both of their sakes. Sorata feels that seeing someone else in the same situation makes him want to step in, even though he is reluctant to defend Inarizaka. He admits he doesn't know the reason behind the promise Kishi made. Sorata then questions if Kishi's relationship is going well, since he's the only one wearing a ring. He tells Sorata that in the end, they will only end up hurting each other. A memory surfaces of a girl declaring she wants nothing to do with him if he quits being an actor or model. Kishi tells Sorata that's all he has to say, and that he should think carefully about what was just said. Before Sorata could respond, he was completely overwhelmed by Kishi's words. He thinks about how people are only amazed by their appearances, not knowing their names. Sorata reflects that there are so many things he likes about her. He wonders why exactly he likes her, realizing he had never thought about it before. Someone warns the group to be careful, as the slope is steep. A girl approaches the quiet group of boys and asks about the strange atmosphere. The girl asks where the good mood from earlier went, reminding them they are still on a school trip. She looks over at a dejected Kishi. Kishi thinks that if things become too awkward, a guy without any friends can just go down the mountain with someone else. Another girl wonders if this is what people mean by the fun is on the way there, the terror on the way back. The girl suddenly asks Kishi where his earring is. He is startled by her question. The others wonder if it fell nearby, and the girl volunteers to find it, claiming to have eagle eyes. Kishi quickly tells her there's no need to look for it. Kishi says that losing things in a place like this happens, and that it's unfortunate but it can't be helped. Sorata watches Kishi's reaction closely. Sorata suddenly tells everyone to go ahead first. The others are surprised as he runs off. He shouts back that he knows it's the big, stick-shaped one. He recalls that Kishi was still wearing it when they reached the summit. Since it's a one-way path, he's confident they should be able to find it. The group wonders how far Sorata has gone, with one girl remarking that they won't find it no matter how hard they search. Miyuki tells Kishi it is not about whether they find it or not. She reminds him of his talk about appearances and asks what exactly he is seeing. Miyuki says with certainty that Sorata will keep searching until he finds it. She explains it's because of the face he made. Kishi looks at her, surprised by her insight. They still can't find Sorata and wonder how far he went. One of the girls complains that they even went all the way back to the summit. She laments that now the tree branches are starting to look like the earring, which Miyuki finds odd. Miyuki's expression shows her growing worry. Suddenly, they see someone's lower half sticking out from a thicket of bushes. The girls let out a collective scream. They recognize Sorata and realize they had to pull him out from the bushes. A beaming Sorata announces that he's safe. He thanks the others for pulling him up. He explains that he found the earring stuck on a tree down the cliff, which led to him getting stuck. Kishi listens to his explanation with a serious look. Sorata holds out the earring, telling Kishi he's glad he found it. Kishi looks down at it, speechless. He suddenly grabs Sorata and shouts that what he did was seriously dangerous. Kishi asks why he would go to such lengths, especially after being told not to. Sorata acknowledges that he knows he was meddling. Kishi listens quietly, his anger subsiding. Sorata explains that somehow, he felt like he was truly seeing Kishi's real feelings for the first time. Sorata smiles, explaining that because he saw Kishi's true feelings, he started thinking the earring must be very important. Kishi questions his reasoning. He bows his head, still asking what exactly Sorata is seeing. Finally, Kishi relents, admitting that Sorata is right. Kishi admits that it turns out he was the one who was pretending. He apologizes, which only confuses Sorata. Kishi thanks him for finding the earring. Sorata tells him that he shouldn't be reckless if something is dangerous. Miyuki approaches and offers them a towel. Later, inside a cable car, Sorata and Kishi sit across from each other in silence. Sorata gestures toward the earring Kishi is holding. Kishi clutches it, hesitating before he speaks. He explains in a quiet voice that it's a gift from his younger sister. Sorata understands, remarking that it's no wonder it was so important and that he's glad they found it. Kishi asks Sorata if his reason for liking Inarizaka is because of love at first sight. He adds if it's because she's beautiful. Sorata agrees that's definitely how it started. However, he says he just remembered something else. He insists he isn't trying to make excuses. He says that after what Kishi said, he started thinking again about why he liked her back then. He describes the Miyuki from before, saying it felt like the emotions she showed were less compared to now. Sorata says that while her face smiled, it felt like no matter what he said, it never truly reached her heart. He cheerfully adds that she kind of reminded him of Kishi, who reacts in shock. Sorata explains that at first, he thought she just wasn't interested in him, but that wasn't it. He explains that sometimes she would show these genuine, happy expressions. He remembers how happy it made him when she did. He admits that while it started with love at first sight, his feelings back then were nowhere near what they are now. He explains that he started noticing everything, from her appearance to her gestures, reactions, and even her word choice. He started thinking to himself how cute or sweet she was. And then, he says with a smile, he realized that this feeling was love. Kishi looks at Sorata, having listened to his entire explanation. He quietly says, "Oh." He follows up with, "I see." Kishi notes that Sorata isn't saying everything about her is good, and Sorata admits he's being vague. Sorata explains that Miyuki is really strong-willed. He flashes back to middle school, explaining Miyuki was a sheltered girl who didn't know about social media, so he taught her how to use it. He explains that when they met again and he saw her posts, she turned into a social media warrior, replying to comments with full-on war energy. Suddenly, Miyuki, who has been listening, leans in and asks what's wrong with her, causing Sorata to scream in surprise. Sorata frantically asks Miyuki if she is okay, but she retorts that she should be the one asking him that. He insists he's fine and worries about her dirty clothes. Miyuki tells him that he's such a handful, because even if she told him not to do dangerous things, he'd still do them anyway. After he apologizes, she tells him it's okay. Miyuki suddenly leans her head against Sorata's chest. Startled, Sorata calls out her name in confusion. Miyuki admits that she is really, truly relieved that he is safe. Sorata looks down at her, completely surprised by her confession. She calls him a reckless idiot, and he profusely apologizes. Watching them, Kishi realizes that all this time, he was only looking at the surface. The other girls watch, with one commenting that the two are a good match. They agree that even though it's one-sided love from Sorata, it's always fun to watch them and makes things livelier. The girl asks if, for some reason, their interaction just makes one feel excited. Kishi smiles warmly as he watches them. He agrees that she is right. Sorata and Miyuki are seen talking together in a public place. Unbeknownst to them, two of their classmates are spying on their outing. A flashback begins, showing Kishi asking Sorata about his plans for Saturday. When a friend asks about a date, Sorata says he'll probably just study since he doesn't have a job. Kishi offers Sorata some tickets, telling him it's free to at least hear him out. Kishi explains the movie ticket is from an acquaintance and hopes Sorata has fun with it. He adds that it can be considered an apology for his behavior the other day. Kishi then showers a stunned Sorata with even more tickets for various places. The scene flashes back to Sorata asking Kishi a personal question about how far his relationship has progressed. Kishi recalls a painful memory of a girl slapping him and derisively commenting that her hand slipped. The girl teases Kishi about his relationship and tells him not to influence Sorata. She questions if he has made any progress at all. Kishi mutters that they held hands as children, while Sorata asks what they are talking about. Back in the present, Sorata and Miyuki are walking together, with Sorata laughing happily. Kishi, watching in disguise, admits to himself that he followed them out of concern. His companion comments on how pure the two of them are. The blonde girl excitedly cheers them on, declaring that she ships it. Kishi and the girl are both surprised to see each other there. She asks why he knows about the date, to which he retorts that's not the point. She explains that she easily got the plans from Sorata, showing the text messages as proof. Kishi silently laments her methods. The blonde girl spots the couple and calls out, much to Kishi's horror. Miyuki turns and gives the spies a knowing, silent gesture. She then mouths a clear message for them to leave if they're going to get in the way. Miyuki spots Kishi and recalls him teasing Sorata about their relationship. In the present, she and Sorata decide to look at the menu. She notices a special item on the menu that is only available to couples. Miyuki expresses her desire to order the special dessert. She then playfully asks a flustered Sorata how they should prove they are a couple. Sorata suggests they could just say they're fiancés, but Miyuki thinks it would sound like a lie. She teasingly asks what they should do, suggesting holding hands might work. A waitress approaches and directly asks if they are a couple. Sorata, feeling conflicted, gives a vague response. Watching from afar, Kishi wonders if their bond is simply due to them being childhood friends. Miyuki quietly enjoys the parfait they managed to order. Sorata observes her, realizing she does indeed like sweet things. He then notices her painted nails and points them out. Miyuki proudly shows off her nails, explaining that Mary did them for her. She explains that since she is more focused on martial arts, she is not skilled in this area and Mary helped her. Her follow-up comment leaves Sorata puzzled. She explains that Mary is her first friend and that she struggled with how to interact with people. She whispers to Sorata that Mary approached her naturally, which has brought her a lot of joy. The spies strain to listen but cannot hear what is being said. Mary comments that she feels the same way about Kishi as Sorata does, noting their relationship is going well. In a flashback, Miyuki describes Kishi as a nice person. However, she adds that he's also a little nosy, a comment Kishi overhears in the present. Sorata agrees with her. He reflects that their own relationship is so unrealistic that most people wouldn't believe it. Sorata admits that he would probably think it was a joke too if he were in their shoes. But he notes with a smile that Kishi never doubted him. He understood that Kishi's intent was simply to worry about him. Mary, eavesdropping, finds this realization to be quite awesome. Kishi reflects that if his nosiness is the reason he and Sorata are getting along, then he is glad. Sorata's admission that Kishi is nosy strikes a nerve. Miyuki looks at the ticket and agrees that it seems to be the case. Miyuki asks what Kishi's instructions were for the tickets, but Sorata says there were none. Miyuki understands. She smiles and says she's looking forward to it. Her reaction leaves both Sorata and the spying Kishi bewildered. The scene shifts to the exterior of the movie theater. As the movie plays, Sorata realizes with horror that it's a scary movie. He panics, wondering why Kishi would set them up like this. Meanwhile, Kishi and Mary are also in the theater, with Kishi hoping the suspension bridge effect will work its magic. In a flashback, Miyuki reflects on her hands, feeling they aren't cute. She thinks her fingers are thick and bony because she trains in martial arts. Sorata nervously thinks about what would happen if they held hands. Miyuki privately wonders if he would be disappointed. Sorata asks her what she's looking at. She tells him it's nothing, just a lack of confidence. Sorata remembers holding hands with her as kids, without understanding its meaning. He realizes that now, the gesture feels completely different. He suddenly takes her hand, catching her completely by surprise. As a scary moment happens on screen, Sorata screams and grabs onto Miyuki's hand. Miyuki, however, seems to be enjoying his terrified reaction. Once the movie is over, Sorata exclaims how incredibly scary it was. Miyuki calmly agrees, while Sorata admits he watched most of it with his eyes squinted. Miyuki chuckles, saying the movie was good enough to earn Kishi's approval. Sorata is glad she's so calm, assuming it is because horror is her favorite genre, but she says that is not it. Sorata worries that his hand was shaking and that he made her feel unwell. Miyuki is amused by his concern. She thanks him with a smile, explaining that his reaction made her feel lively. Mary excitedly points out another movie, but Kishi frantically tries to quiet her down, realizing they've been spotted. Other moviegoers recognize Kishi and his companion. Sorata is shocked to learn they have been followed for some time. Miyuki admits she was completely unaware they were being watched. Miyuki turns to Sorata with a playful smile and suggests they run away. Sorata looks at her, his eyes wide with surprise. Sorata takes her hand and begins to run, pulling her along. Miyuki looks back at him with a genuinely happy and warm expression. The sight of her smile leaves Sorata stunned and blushing. Sorata and Miyuki run off together, hand in hand, both with joyful smiles. In the afterward, their friends are left behind, with Mary complaining that she wanted the four of them to hang out. A classmate comments to Miyuki that she and Sorata look good together for being arranged partners. Miyuki calmly corrects her, stating that it's only natural since they are fiancés. This distinction leaves her friends utterly confused, with one exclaiming that she just said the same thing. The friend yells in shock at Miyuki's use of the word fiancé. She quickly apologizes in case Miyuki dislikes the term arranged partners. Another friend explains the typical difference, noting that arranged partners are set up by parents. Miyuki simply smiles, implying her situation with Sorata is different. Miyuki recalls her childhood, remembering a time when she felt a wall between herself and everyone else. The only exception was her family, though she didn't realize how important that was. She felt most comfortable at her grandpa's side and often visited his detached house. In a flashback, Miyuki loses a game to her grandpa. He teases her for looking bitter after her loss. He tells her she lost because she isn't adorable, a comment she retorts by calling him a loser. She notes that her floral arts teacher said something similar, but with a different meaning. Miyuki recalls her teacher advising her to smile after winning an award, but only if she was truly happy. She points out to her grandpa that he said the same thing, and he comments on how stout-hearted her teacher must be. He brushes it off, claiming he is simply well-spoken. Her grandpa ruffles her hair, playfully insisting she isn't cute. Miyuki's narration explains her family owns a fabrics shop from the Meiji period. However, its history is considered short in the Kyoto region. The first generation grew the business by embracing new ideas despite criticism. Her grandpa asks what makes her happy. Miyuki admits she doesn't know. She explains that she only takes lessons because her mother tells her to, and even receiving awards doesn't bring her any real feelings. Miyuki continues, confessing that she doesn't understand happiness or sadness. She feels she doesn't understand her own preferences at all. Her grandpa listens intently with a somber expression. Her grandpa suggests that she just hasn't met the right person yet. A memory surfaces of her floral arts teacher praising her for being a good, level-headed girl. The teacher asks to use her arrangement for an exhibition. Another student suggests using a different girl's display, claiming she is older and better. Miyuki recalls that although she had intended to do well, there was an underlying issue in her relationships with her peers. She pricks her finger on the damaged equipment. Miyuki discovers that her flower frog has been tampered with. She overhears the other students whispering about their plan to make her quit. She silently dismisses them as losers. Realizing the problem stemmed from how she conducted herself, Miyuki asks her mother if she can quit floral arts. When her mother asks if something bad happened, Miyuki denies it. She suggests instead that she switch classrooms and instructors. Later in a new class, her classmates congratulate her on another achievement. Having gone through her past troubles, Miyuki has learned to put on a polite smile and thank them graciously. The flashback returns to her conversation with her grandpa, who tells her there's a boy he wants her to meet. He describes the boy as someone who gets hurt often. Miyuki makes an annoyed face at the suggestion. He informs her they will be arranged partners. He adds that he personally thinks the boy will suit her. Since it was the first time her grandpa had ever requested something of her, Miyuki agreed immediately. She later looks up the definition of a promised partner. She dismisses the idea of a future spouse as something far off. Miyuki rationalized that having it decided for her was easier. She admitted to herself that she never really liked people. This led to her first meeting with a young Sorata, whom she greeted politely. Sorata looked very nervous during their first encounter. Upon meeting, a flustered Sorata loudly declared that he would absolutely make her happy. His intense reaction left a young Miyuki completely bewildered. Miyuki reflects that her first impression of him was the worst. Their arrangement became a routine where they would meet once a year during school breaks. Their early meetings were often marked by awkward silence. She found him incredibly loud as he excitedly talked about playing soccer with his friends. When he asked about her, she mentioned her lessons had changed. She told him she was now learning piano, which he found amazing. Their different worlds became apparent when he asked if she could play the theme from a show called Sopranger. Still, she resolved to try. She decided to fulfill her grandpa's request. The next year, Sorata shyly presented her with a single flower. Miyuki noticed the flower was wilted and correctly guessed he brought it from Tokyo. Sorata's mother then revealed that he couldn't afford a gift, so he grew the flower for a school project. She added that he was in tears, unsure what to give a girl, which left Sorata mortified. Miyuki processed the fact that he went to such lengths for her. Despite this, she felt nothing inside. Nevertheless, she put on her practice smile and told him she was happy, thanking him for the gift. She had made sure to give him a big smile. Yet she couldn't understand why he looked so troubled by her reaction. Later, she looked at the flower, which was already beginning to wither. The following year, Sorata didn't show up. Miyuki apologized to her grandpa, saying it couldn't be helped. Her grandpa looked downcast, agreeing with her assessment. Her grandpa asked if she had grown to like Sorata, but Miyuki admitted she didn't know. She only knew she had wanted to fulfill his request and was sorry she couldn't. He gently patted her head, surprised she cared so much. Miyuki concluded that Sorata must have also realized they didn't match. She accepted it, thinking she wasn't good at getting along with anyone. She was glad the engagement was no longer a concern. As a result of everything, she felt nothing. She never truly knew herself. She only felt a sense of cold despair. Another year passed. Looking at her collection of overflowing trophies, Miyuki decided it was time to throw them out. Suddenly, a noise from her window startled her. Someone was climbing onto the roof. Miyuki looked out her window to see Sorata. He had come back, waving with a bright smile, and inviting her to go to the ceremonial bonfire. Miyuki is surprised to find Sorata on her roof, greeting her after a long absence. She's bewildered by his sudden appearance, especially since he missed their meeting last year, and wonders if his visit is related to the Okurabai bonfire. Sorata seems hesitant to explain his presence. Miyuki notices Sorata's pocket is wet and questions him about it. After a moment of realization, he reaches into his pocket. To her surprise, he pulls out a flower. Sorata proudly explains he learned how to transport flowers properly, though Miyuki privately observes it's quite wilted. An awkward moment passes between them. Miyuki sighs quietly before heading back inside. She asks him to wait a moment, leaving a puzzled Sorata on the roof. Miyuki gives Sorata a detailed lesson on how to preserve a flower for transport. Impressed by her expertise, Sorata is amazed at how her method will make the flower last longer. He exclaims that she's like a professional. Miyuki remains silent, her expression unreadable. Sorata confesses that for a moment, he thought she wasn't going to return. They exchange confused questions about why the other would think that. Miyuki internally laments that she's made a fool of herself. Miyuki brings up his desire to see the Okurabai and invites him to go. Sorata is hesitant, worried they'll get in trouble for sneaking out. Miyuki points out that it's already late and dangerous. She adds that she has a 9 p.m. curfew because of her lessons. She reveals the bonfire lighting starts at 8 p.m., meaning they can make it in 10 minutes. Sorata is thrilled by her proposal. He helps her down from the roof. As they leave, he explains he was late because he had to meet his father first. On their way, Miyuki asks why he was on the roof. Sorata explains he was trying to avoid his nagging brother. He then confides that his days have been dull, and he finds going out with her to be a refreshing change of pace. Sorata marvels at the view as they walk. Miyuki suggests a safer route along the crowded river. Her thought is cut short when the strap of her sandal suddenly snaps. She stops, looking down at her broken sandal in dismay. Sorata quickly checks on her as she confirms her guitar strap broke. Feeling defeated, she apologizes for ruining the outing and suggests they head back. Instead of agreeing, Sorata takes off his own shoe and places it for her. He crouches down, wordlessly offering her a piggyback ride. Miyuki stares, stunned by his gesture. Miyuki expresses her concerns about her kimono and weight, but Sorata insists he can handle it. As he carries her, his struggle becomes obvious. He tries to play it off, but Miyuki dryly points out that he is a terrible liar. Suddenly the area grows darker and Sorata is amazed. Miyuki explains it's a planned blackout to set the mood for the bonfire. Realizing the event is about to begin, she suggests they find a good spot. They find a viewing spot by the bridge railing and wait. Miyuki asks why he seems glad that it's just the two of them. Sorata reflects on his absence the previous year. He admits he had felt his efforts were awkward and that they were simply not a good match. He felt he just didn't get along well with people. As Miyuki internally despairs over her own inability to feel anything. Sorata interrupts, telling her he has something for her. He opens his hand, revealing a small, handmade-looking ring. Miyuki stares at it in confusion. Sorata proudly announces that it's a ring he made for her. He explains that he heard on the radio it would make a fiancée happy. He admits he had wanted to give it to her the previous year, but wasn't able to finish it in time. Miyuki finally understands that his absence last year was because he was working on this gift. Sorata questions why she would think he felt they didn't match. He clarifies that his only concern was whether she would smile when she received it. A genuine smile spreads across Miyuki's face as she thanks him. She realizes he had always noticed her forced happiness. Despite his thoughtful gift, she still feels a void. She apologizes, confessing she doesn't know how to express her true feelings. She explains that she has trouble connecting with emotions like happiness and sadness. A flashback reveals her peers gossiping about her stoic nature, calling her unpleasant. Miyuki knew she made others uncomfortable, but felt powerless to change. Believing she's unqualified to receive such a gift, Miyuki tells Sorata she's given up on herself. Sorata asks if she hates this kind of thing. She tries to dismiss the issue, telling him not to worry. She promises not to hurt his feelings again. But Sorata isn't deterred, declaring that he'll keep trying until she is truly happy to receive his gift. Miyuki is left speechless by his vow. He promises he will absolutely make her happy. As the bonfire illuminates the mountainside, Miyuki quietly remarks on how pretty it is. Sorata softly says her name. Miyuki thanks him. Later, her grandfather confronts her about sneaking out with Sorata. She attempts to deny it, but he calls her out for lying. He reveals her brother Ayano tracked her with a GPS. He reassures her that he was only worried and advises her to be honest in the future. Her grandfather forbids her from going out alone again, and she quietly agrees. He then playfully teases her about becoming a naughty girl. Just then her brother Ano appears, his attention fixed on the ring she's wearing. Ano questions why she's wearing the ring on her index finger. Miyuki's simple explanation is that she can see it better there. He lectures her on the proper etiquette of engagement rings, which signify being fiancés. This leads Miyuki to question the difference between being fiancés and promised partners. Her mother clarifies that promised partners are arranged by parents, whereas fiancés consent to a proposal themselves. She adds that the distinction is minor in their case. She then remarks on how the ring must have taken a year to create. In a flashback, Sorata enthusiastically describes the difficult process of making the ring. His mother remarks on how cute and admirable he is. Miyuki recalls his straightforward nature and finds herself thinking about how direct he is. Miyuki calmly points out that the ring is rusty. Ano reacts with disbelief, stating the obvious fact that it's rusty because it's made of metal. As she looks at the ring, tears begin to stream down Miyuki's face. Her family is shocked to see her crying. Her family panics at the rare sight of her tears. Her brother tries to comfort her, promising to fix it. Miyuki is overcome with confusion, unable to understand why she is crying. She had always felt so detached from everything. She reflects on how praise and achievements meant nothing to her. Every trophy she won only made her hate herself more. She quickly grew to hate herself whenever something didn't go smoothly. She loathed herself for her inability to feel attached to anything. But then she remembers Sorata's earnest promise to make her happy. She also recalls her grandfather's comforting words that she simply hadn't met the right person yet. She finally understands that her inability to feel was only because she hadn't met Sorata. A memory of her looking at Sorata with a true heartfelt smile surfaces as she thanks him. She realizes that unlike the withered flowers of the past, this feeling is real and present. Even if old memories are like withered flowers, she can cherish them by drawing them from memory. Looking at the ring on her finger, Miyuki realizes that everything Sorata has given her has become precious. The word fiancés resonates with new meaning. This is distinct from being promised partners in an arrangement their parents made. She recalls the definition of a fiancé, a promise made between two people. She smiles to herself, blushing happily. Back at school, her friends notice her cheerful disposition, but she simply tells them her thoughts are a secret. In class, the teacher announces that quizzes are being handed back, causing a student to break out in a cold sweat. Sorata nervously holds the test paper, bracing himself for the result. His anxiety proves justified as he stares in horror at his math test, marked with a dismal score of 24. Sorata laments that his job has left him no time to study for his classes. His classmate casually shows off his own score of 96, much to Sorata's irritation. Worried about the upcoming finals, Sorata frets over the possibility of having to take remedial classes. As Sorata despairs over his grades, a female classmate leans over his desk. He recoils in shock. The girl simply offers him a sweet smile. To help with his studies, the group decides to form a study group for finals. Miyuki is secretly thrilled, admitting to herself that she's always wanted to do something like this. Sorata feels a bit embarrassed about hosting at his ordinary house. The friends arrive with snacks and chat about their different living situations. Sorata tells everyone his grandpa will be home later and that they should make themselves at home. He heads out of the room to get them all something to drink. As soon as he's gone, two of the girls begin eagerly rummaging through his room. Miyuki looks on, confused, and asks what they are doing. One of the girls declares she's searching for compromising items. Another friend finds the idea intriguing. Sorata playfully asks Miyuki if she's also interested in such things. To everyone's surprise, she calmly confirms that she is. They discover an old, plain-looking book on a shelf. While the others speculate about its contents, Miyuki begins to worry. She grows anxious, contemplating what she would do if she found evidence of another woman in his life. While their friends find the picture adorable, the present-day Miyuki dryly declares she'll burn it. The friends find a photo and ask if it's Sorata and Miyuki when they were children. The book is revealed to be a scrapbook, containing old photos and newspaper clippings. Just as their friend points at the picture, Sorata returns with drinks and panics. The others tease him, but he tells them to stop digging through his things. The group finally settles in for their study session. After they finish studying, one of the girls enthusiastically suggests they should all hang out again during summer break. Sorata reminds her of her busy schedule with club activities and a part-time job. The girl explains that her club activities are only bi-weekly and she can adjust her work shifts. Another friend confirms he is also free and available to go. Sorata agrees as well, happy for the chance to hang out more outside of work. When the group turns to ask Miyuki about her plans, she's initially hesitant. She reminds them that she will be going back to Kyoto for the break. With a polite smile, she tells them to have fun for her. Miyuki asks to use the bathroom, and Sorata points her down the hall. As she walks away, another girl seems to have a sudden realization. The girl calls out Miyuki's name, looking flustered. Sorata's grandfather arrives home and is happy to see her. He notes that if she had come tomorrow, the whole family would have been there, then realizes it's just her and Sorata. Thinking he's interrupting, the grandfather apologizes, but Miyuki insists she should be the one apologizing. She clarifies that her school friends were just visiting, and he realizes he jumped to conclusions. He expresses his happiness that Sorata is making friends and offers her some candy. He asks how things are going with Sorata, and Miyuki assures him that they are getting along very well. His question brings a private thought about Sorata to her mind. Sorata's grandfather tells her not to worry about what someone named Sakuhiko has said. He encourages her and Sorata to do as they please. Miyuki quietly accepts his words. The grandfather is delighted that she came to visit. Miyuki recalls a time she tried to do something similar. A flashback shows another young man formally apologizing for being a bother during a past visit. The young man from the memory explains it's time for him to leave for his lessons. Sorata's grandfather warmly invites him to visit again. In the present, her new friends leave Sorata's house, waving cheerful goodbyes. As Sorata walks Miyuki home, she asks if he visits his grandfather often, and he says it's because he misses his father. He pulls out his phone to show her that he's created a group chat for the four of them. Sorata excitedly suggests all the ways they can stay connected over the break, from calling each other to playing games together. He adds that they can still hang out, or even see each other immediately if they want to. Touched by his enthusiasm, a genuine smile spreads across Miyuki's face as she tells him it sounds like fun. Sorata becomes flustered by her happy reaction. Miyuki suggests that if he wanted, their calls could be just between the two of them. She gives him a teasing smile. One of their friends is certain she recognizes someone, noting their distinct aura and eyes. Her companion is skeptical, thinking it's just someone else they know. But she insists it's the person from the childhood photo with Miyuki. She wonders aloud if it might be Miyuki's brother. The person they are watching bumps into a man dressed in a traditional kimono. The man turns with a mysterious smile. The man in the kimono looks at the person who bumped into him with a sharp, unsettling smile. He coolly remarks that he'll forgive them since he wasn't paying attention either. The man waves goodbye as the other person quickly leaves. He receives a text from Miyuki about her plans to come home at the end of the semester. His phone then rings with a call from Miyuki. He confirms her travel plans for the summer break, telling her he'll inform their mother. With a sly smile, he tells Miyuki that if she's fine with it, she could bring Sorata with her to Kyoto. He adds that he looks forward to it.